Hi and welcome to my 2020 season review video, my first season racing the Sprint Championship with Club 100, and what an eventful season it turned out to be. The season kicked off at BUCKMORE Park at the end of February, my first ever experience of competitive motorsport. I found it very hard, much harder than I thought I would. Conditions were quite damp at the beginning of the day, although drying up by the time we came to the final. As you can see in the video clip here, I really did not adjust well to the change in conditions and didn't really take advantage of the fact the circuit was dry. But I really enjoyed it, was eager for more, and like everyone else wasn't really prepared for what happened in the months following this first race. After the first round, I was really raring to go for the rest of the season, but unfortunately the world had other ideas and things stopped for quite a while. We resumed with some effectively pre-season testing again in June, and I ended up going to a very wet rye house, thinking I was cursed. And every single time I was destined to get in a car, it would rain and be a complete nightmare. At this point, I was still really struggling to get to grips with driving a car with no grip, something that thankfully got much better throughout the course of the year, but this was just really what I didn't need. But I still enjoyed being back in the car, still enjoyed the fact that we could go and do something that wasn't effectively sitting at home. So in that respect, it was definitely a lot of fun, and just made me realise what I was missing, looking forward to hopefully what was going to come next. So the season proper started at Shenington in July. There's no video for the next couple of races due to problems with the GoPro mounts. Normal service will be resumed at BUCKMORE Park. I really enjoyed Shenington, found I actually fought with a few people, which made it much more fun. And then we moved on to Clay Pigeon, also in July. I struggled a bit at Clay, had a reasonable starting position in the C final, but just got mugged by a whole bunch of people on the first or second lap, and then really didn't recover after that. Due to a slight planning error on my behalf, I ended up racing in the Sprint 60 Championship for round 4 on what turned out to be one of the hottest days of the year. Now, I wasn't really prepared for 30 minutes in a car around probably one of the twistiest tracks we race on all year, and I really struggled. The first few laps were pretty good, as you can see here. I actually managed to stay on the pack and even pulled a few moves out, but by about halfway I was really starting to struggle, and honestly thought that at some point I might have thrown up in my crash helmet. despite struggling with the heat, I still really enjoyed the longer races and the slightly more relaxed format compared with the sprint series. So next year I've decided to concentrate on Sprint 60, and I'm really looking forward to it. Only a couple of the tracks will be new to me, so hopefully I'll be able to concentrate on just upping my speed and keeping up with the people in front of me. The races are coming thick and fast at this point every 2 weeks. We're now in September at BAYFORD Meadows, another new track to me, as they all were. Quite enjoyed driving here. It's got a nice flow to it, but I did struggle, made a number of really stupid mistakes, including one where I went off the track, rejoined, and then ended up with the kart beached on a cone, unable to move it without help. Very disappointing, but still I enjoyed my time here. Every time out I learnt something, so I shouldn't be too disappointed. And the good thing is, another track off the list. Next season won't have to learn it again. I now know where it goes. It's all positive from that point of view. On to round 6 now, and we're at LYDD. I found this a pretty physical track to drive. The first part of the lap you certainly need to be taking quite a bit of curb to keep the speed up, and I did suffer for it. A few days after the race I was feeling quite sore and had a slightly bruised rib, which took me quite a while to recover from, I must admit, but I still enjoyed it, and I actually had one of my better weekends, finishing the highest position I think I managed in a C final all season, so I must have been doing something right. I'm certainly looking forward to going back to LYDD next season, and hopefully we'll have a bit of a stronger event, just simply because I know what to expect, and I've also made a few changes to make me more comfortable in the seat and generally not prone to bashing myself about quite as badly as I did here. round 7 of the championship was at Wilton Mill International, the longer of the two versions of the circuit. I didn't test at this race, so was always playing catch up. Did get quicker throughout the day, but never quite quick enough. I was hoping to pick up a few places in both the heats and the final, thanks to people perhaps being slightly over enthusiastic in the early laps, but I made my own unforced errors really that meant I never really capitalised on the mistakes made by others, but it's still valuable experience. I at this point was getting much more confident in the handling of the kart, particularly under braking, willing to allow it to move around. Sometimes I got it right, sometimes I got it wrong, but you know, I could see there was some progression there, which was quite good. I did make a lot of mistakes at this corner we've just gone through and never seemed to quite learn to not go on the geo block, but hopefully I've learnt my lesson now. Into November and we were at Rye House for round 8. It was damp at the start of the day, but pretty much dry by the time we come to the C final, which this video is from. A few nasty damp patches where the water really never dries and stays, particularly coming through the corner we're about to enter here. I didn't make a great start, got slightly mugged, but did take advantage of this slightly messy event at the first hairpin. Unfortunately, I wasn't really able to capitalise on a reasonable start and the pack in front of me being held up. A few other people kind of fell off on their own due to the damp parts of the circuit catching them out, but it was quite a lonely race in the end. Still, you know, more valuable experience, good fun, helpful that I knew the circuit and also that I was able to drive sensibly with the changing conditions and not really get caught out. So from that point of view, compared with my experience at BUCKMORE, where we went from wet to dry and I really didn't adjust and everyone just drove away from me, here I did manage to adjust and was pretty solid. So, you know, I was quite happy with the way things went, although it would have been nicer to have kept up with these guys in front of me rather than watching them gradually pull away. hoping to finish the season, but lockdown 2 happened. But hooray, one last race, round 10, Wilton Mill Zulu. Round 9 never happened because of the lockdown, but we did make it out in December for one last throw of the dice. It just felt great to be out racing again and realise how much I'd grown to enjoy it over the course of the year. And it was nice to measure the improvement that I'd made. Even though it was quite cold, not a huge amount of grip in the tyres, I was still able to race reasonably well, and you can see from the clip here, keep up with people in front of me. Unfortunately, I was a bit too generous, really. I closed on the guy in front and I really should have pushed hard, but through a couple of the corners, rather than really getting right up on his back bumper, I kind of backed off a little bit when I was clearly quicker. But these are all things that I'm going to learn as time goes on. I just feel so grateful for the fact that we were able to get a reasonable championship by the end of the year. And again, you realise how much being able to do something like this means to you, and how lucky we are to be able to do it when basically the rest of the world is pretty much going to hell. To be able to just jump in a kart and forget about everything for even a few minutes is invaluable. So that's it. See you 2020. You will not be missed.